Sparklers.
All right, it's Friday. It's time for our monthly, what are we calling this? WordPress Friday Hangout, June edition, right, Victor? We're back. We got a powerhouse of a group here. I'm super excited because I know all of you very well, and we all have a big thing in common, which we'll talk about in a minute. But first, let me welcome, say hi to Victor. Victor, it's been a little while since we talked. How you doing over there?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing good in my pollution cloud in Philadelphia that I did.
What a world we live in. What a world.
I know.
Now I'm not just checking the weather. I'm checking to see what the air quality is going to be in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Know if I should do outdoor work today or later on. But yeah, fun times, end of days. Anyways, let's get on to the more positive, fun stuff. Let's bring on our guests. They're all here.
That was nice.
We'll do intros. I'm sure we don't need to do intros, but let's do intros. We'll go around the horn. Just kind of tell everyone who you are, what you do, and in the WordPress world. We'll go from there. So, Laura, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Hi, my name is Laura Byrne. I am an account manager at WebDev Studios, and I am one of the co-lead organizers of WordCamp Montclair, and we just had our event last weekend.
Yes, can't wait to talk a little bit about that.
I'll pass over to Michelle.
I'm Michelle Frechette. I'm the Director of Community Engagement for Stellar WP at Liquid Web. I just was at WordCamp Montclair last weekend. Gave a talk about how to start a podcast, which I'm kind of known for in WordPress because I have a couple of them. And passing it over to Raquel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Raquel, soon to be Raquel Manriquez, which is actually going back to my birth name, but I am the community manager at Elegant Themes, and was recently in Athens with Victor at WordCamp Europe, which actually Michelle was there too, which Laura, I did not see you because you usually go. Yeah, but it was wonderful. And I'm also the lead organizer for WordCamp Phoenix 2024. I've been on the team since 2015, 16, and also lead all the meetup groups with a full team in Phoenix as well. So, yep.
And you and Brad and I were at Phoenix this year. That was fun.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And Laura.
Laura too. Right?
Everybody but Victor.
Oh,
Victor was on the fence.
He stayed home in the nice rainy Philly weather when we were out in beautiful sunny Phoenix.
He missed out. Victor.
Yeah, that's the one where I got FOMO, and Brad was making fun of me the whole time and telling me how wonderful the weather was. And
I mean, it was pretty beautiful, and the tacos were pretty amazing. So. The one great thing about Phoenix, well, I should say almost every WordCamp I've been to is the food. Maybe that's why I go to WordCamp so much, because I really like eating, and I want to eat all the food everywhere. So, but I think maybe we kind of we probably gave it away what the one common thread is here, beyond just WordPress, right? But if you're really drawn to it, it's WordCamps, and not just going to WordCamps, but this is a pretty amazing collective group of WordCamp organizers. So I want to see if I can get this right. I think I know all the WordCamps we've organized. I'm curious if I know, Victor, you have helped organize WordCamp New York, right? I'm WordCamp Philly. Laura, you just had WordCamp Montclair last weekend.
Montclair, Philly, New York.
US.
Yes.
New York, US. Michelle.
Oh, I guess WordCamp US, because I helped organize one of the first workshops with Annie McElwain and all these other people. We helped kind of change up the format. And so I guess I participated because we did help, like, hey, how do we make workshops work in 20? I forgot about that. 2019. Yeah.
That was a lifetime ago.
For sure.
I know.
Before times. Then Michelle, we have WordCamp Rochester, right? And did you helped organize WordCamp Buffalo as well?
I am an organizer for Rochester and Buffalo, US, and last year I was a Europe organizer as well.
Jeez. And Raquel, we have WordCamp Phoenix.
And
US.
And US.
US. So we've all helped with WordCamp US. That's pretty amazing. I don't think I knew that fact, actually. I knew some of had. I didn't realize all of us had at some point. But I mean, that's pretty awesome group. Like, it's not just, one, it is a collective group of WordCamps, local WordCamp regional, but as well as the national US, and then Michelle helping with WordCamp Europe, which is the biggest one, I believe, right? Traditionally is WordCamp Europe. So pretty collective group of volunteers, organizers, within the community and with the events. So, I mean, I think it seems like a logical place to start. I'd love to hear a little bit about how last weekend went. WordCamp Montclair. I know we're still kind of, WordCamps are still kind of coming back. They're still not anywhere near what they were, but certainly have seen more this year than any since, the pandemic situation. So, I mean, how was it, especially compared, because you also had one last year, which you were one of the few, I think, in the world to have a WordCamp.
Yeah. We were the only place in the United States. Actually, we were the only place in the Western Hemisphere other than WordCamp US to have a camp last year.
Yeah.
We were looking for 200 people. We got around 150, which is okay. I always say, like, it's not a game about size, right? Bigger doesn't mean better. Like, let's make sure you have quality. And I felt like we really delivered on the quality of what we gave. And what was really awesome was hearing people give feedback. One of the presenters was somebody named Robbie Adair. And if you Google Robbie Adair, you will see that she speaks far and wide everywhere, not just in the WordPress space, open source space, lots of places. End of her talk, she came up to me and she said, she goes, I go to a ton of conferences. She goes, and I don't want to go to like a lot of the sessions when I'm there. And she's like, oh my God, I wanted to go to every single one of your sessions. They were all so good. And then Michelle, I'm going to quote you too, because you came out of your talk and I was like, how did it go? And you said, she goes, a whole line of people followed me out of my talk to keep going, So to me, I think it went well because the amount of engagement we had with people that was really meaningful was awesome. And our featured keynote speaker, Caleb Matthias, this time last year, he was working for the United States Postal Service full-time. He went from postal worker to full-time dev at Penske Media Corp in a year. And we had him give the keynote talk, mailman to dev in a year, and it was incredible. And I'm trying to get him to pitch that talk to other places as well.
He should. He's story. Awesome. Yeah, and from an attendees point of view and speakers point of view, WordCamp Montclair was phenomenal last year and this year. So Laura and her team really knock it out of the park. It's very, very professional. I love that at the end of the corridor, you can see the skyline of New York City. It's just like, it's all the good things.
Yeah, I heard really good things about the keynote, and I believe that's all recorded, right? It's all online, so we can get that tweeted out. But
we had the fortune to work in the School of Media and Communications at Montclair State University, and everything is recorded by their students. They consider this a practical application, learning about what they do. But also by benefit of that, we were also able to live stream one of the tracks on top of having recorded it. So the live stream from track 1 is up.
Nice.
And we're going to chop it up into smaller parts for WordPress TV and all that.
I already stole mine and posted it on my website. So there you go.
Go for it. That is fine. That is the beauty of Creative Commons licensing. Go for it. Right. That's why we do it. Right. So good. Absolutely. Have that.
One thing that's kind of struck me as I've watched WordCamp starting to come back, and I've been to a lot of WordCamps over the years, and it is contagious and it's fun, and you meet amazing people like who we have here, and I know it's had a big positive impact on my business and just professional life. But one of the things that's striking is I feel like pre-pandemic, early on, it was very grassroots, kind of figuring out WordCamps and just getting the local community together. And that was great, right? And then it got more formal, but it started to get bigger. And then there's WordCamps everywhere. And then they were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it almost felt like, and I'm just as guilty with WordCamp Philly, like we were trying to compete to make our WordCamp like the biggest in the area or the biggest one on the East Coast or whatever. And I almost feel like we got away from some of the closeness and uniqueness of WordCamps in the sense of, they don't all have to be like a WordCamp US or WordCamp Europe, right? Like I think these 100-person, maybe even less, maybe a little bit more, those type of WordCamps, I think are in some ways even more valuable.
I mean, I can speak to that as far as we did have that where people forget New York City, sometimes boroughs compete, right? And there was a group that petitioned for WordPress Brooklyn. And, WordCamp New York was contacted and we're like, I mean, it is Brooklyn. Like it could be separate. Like, I don't know, like, who are we to say no if they can organize it? But then there were concerns that would bleed from the other, make the other one not happen, et cetera. But like, I also will say like when we did that St. Louis workshop of, different types of WordCamps, that workshop, and I'll have to look at and share the link, was actually about trying to have different types of meetups and WordCamps. That was the workshop. It was like myself, one of the folks from WordCamp Atlanta, people's names are escaping me, GoDaddy. I'm like, yeah, it was a good talk, but it was really saying like, hey, you can do a WordCamp with 50 people. You could do a Word Jam with 20 people. Hey, want to do an agency camp? Like no one's telling you can't. Only if you use WordCamp do you need this, the sponsorship. And it was getting people to brainstorm. Brainstorm. Man, my brain is messed up. And so brainstorm and like,
I like brainstorm.
Yeah, brainstorm.
I like it too.
But it was getting people to really brainstorm and like think about different ways to do it. And that what was weird was we made like a meetup or WordCamp in a box type PDF and sheets. And I don't know what happened with it because it was really the community team running it. And so I should take a look at that and share it. But that's been talked about for a while, that WordCamps don't have to be, and even at WordCamp Europe, which because I know we're going to talk about that today, a lot of people were saying WordCamp Europe felt very commercial. Like the booths, I thought I was like, and they even forgot the job wall. They didn't have the job wall. So it's like, it felt very, very commercial.
I think one of the issues that we face is that everything's expensive now. So if we have to rent a venue, we're looking at least a couple $1,000s, if not a lot of $1,000s. And if we're going to try to feed people, at least lunch, if not coffee and bagels in the morning as well. Now you've almost doubled the cost of the venue because of the cost of food. And so we have to find sponsors, but sponsors want to see bang for their buck. So they want to see big crowds. They want to see a lot of people. So it's this vicious circle of we have to make it big in order to encourage the sponsors, and we need the sponsors in order to pay for the food and the venue, and it's just kind of like the cycle that makes it really difficult.
I mean,
I gotta believe there's less less donation of space too, in a post-pandemic world, right? Because of the liability that comes with inviting a massive group of people into your space as a donation. That could, lead to some situations that maybe they're not ready for or certainly don't want. So I got to believe there's less of that happening now too, which again adds to those costs that you're talking about.
I'd be curious with Raquel, like how you guys, I'll come in at the end here, but like, how is getting sponsors for Phoenix? Because I will tell you, getting sponsors for WordCamp Montclair was kind of a nightmare this year. So I'm just curious, Raquel, how did Phoenix fare with getting sponsors?
I mean, definitely compared to pre-pandemic times, not as well. I mean, we typically raise from like 40 to honestly 60K in the years past. So I'll just be transparent with numbers. This past, we did 26. And I was come to find out that was actually kind of a ridiculous amount to raise in considering how much other camps have. And we were able to come with numbers post lockdown, like it's not our normal numbers, but we had, we sold 400 tickets, 325 checked in. And that did feel kind of like, like what we used to know as more of a local camp. For Phoenix, we used to be more of a super camp. So, like 500 to 600 was our normal. But I think because we have that and a lot of the whole, the first kind of, lack of a better word, bigger local camp helped. And that's something that we're actually really much taking into consideration because as we've all seen, if anyone is on an org team currently, like heavy involved with an org team is our budgets from the powers that be are drastically being met with a lot of pushback. And what's really, really hard is that in this like post-lockdown world is inflation is outrageous. And to your point, Brad, about not getting free space, it's not even just free space, but space alone is absurdly more than what it used to be. And yet we're still supposed to fit that in a $50 ticket. So ROI from sponsors is huge. That's like the biggest thing I think about. So one, and it's kind of both. I love the idea of both of having numbers at a camp, but then also having that small feel of that community feel. And it kind of ends up what inevitably happens. I mean, even if in those of us who've been to the previous yesteryears of WordCamp Miami, WordCamp Phoenix, where they were 700, 900 people, you did have that. It was hard, but you would have like a bunch of noobs and you would find out their stories and how different it was from you when you were just visiting all your friends. So it ends up being multiple camps in one, I think, and so that's what you kind of have to go for. If the numbers give the sponsors some ROI, which that's heavy, I want that for them. But then at the same time, our goal is to still give every single attendee an experience that they will find valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
I was just going to say, we got our work cut out for ourselves for 2024. That's for sure. Especially with like the proposal for new types of WordCamps and the state of WordCamps.
You know, it's interesting here. A person named Birgit Olzum, and she says, I'm so happy that we have, and this is in the chat, the YouTube chat, that we have a very generous mayor in my hometown for WordCamp Germany, who provides us with a venue for under 500 euros fees for 3 days. And then Cami says, oh my God, it's crazy. We're just starting to look for a space for Seattle 2024. I think it makes me wonder, because the one thing, listen, like we're all volunteers here. Not everyone comes from like a venue or like a event planning space. You know, and for me, I remember like when WeWork, and again, this is kind of weird because WeWork was a money pit. So this may not be the best case to talk about, but you know, when WeWork started demoing, working before they even worked with WordPress, they contacted me because I was running the WP NYC meetup, and they were like, hey, we're trying this pilot program, New York first. We'll give you spaces. And then we started saying to like other meetups, hey, we're like, I can't use the space every week. We're doing once a month. And it was kind of like this like cottage, you know, hey, let's trade spaces. And there were startups that started doing that. They all flopped, Breather, like whatever. Maybe like WordPress needs to, you know, we have the diversity and equity, you know, teaching people how to speak. Maybe we need to write a program of like how to hustle a meetup or a WordCamp venue and say like, talk to rec centers, talk to whatever. Because the one thing too, and I think this is just sometimes not just WordPress people, but people who are not professional event managers, they don't know how to go in and say, hey, can we use your venue? We are WordPress. We are awesome. We're going to make sure we clean up after. We're going to make sure it's clean. Hey, we won't bring our own food. If you have like a bake sale, we'll make sure we'll use your bake sale goods, and like, and knowing how to kind of negotiate and making a rec center feel good about, because that's the one reason why some places don't donate space, because if you don't have it, you know, like the minute they open up to someone, but if you could say, hey, we're a great space here. We can have other things. Yeah, and the other thing, like Michael's saying here, like, and that Mike just said, Altieri just said, hey, like also making sure they're accessible and inviting. So that could be part of, maybe that's the committee to say, hey, everyone, let's think about because like a rec center, those are usually going to be accessible, right? A student center. And then that also aligns with everyone keeps saying it for the last 2 years, we're getting old here. You know what I mean? Like we need younger people in WordPress, and maybe that could be, that committee is like figuring out how to be more involved in the community while leveraging WordCamps. I mean, maybe that's what we need to do.
I think
we actually had some, go ahead, Laura.
I was going to say, I think one of the things we're sort of tapped around it a little bit, you know, the changing face of WordPress, post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, all of that. I think one of the other things that in particular has happened as of late, and particularly within the last year, is there have been many, many buyouts and condensing of like who does what. You know, it was also the Great Resignation. Lots of people changed jobs. They're not there anymore. There is new leadership in a lot of what were the traditional companies that sponsored, and that leadership is not per se invested in WordPress, in the WordPress community, in spreading goodwill, sending their people out. To give you an idea, like I said, WordCamp Montclair in 2022, we were the only camp other than US to say that I effortlessly raised $20,000. I effortlessly raised $20,000 on top of the global sponsorship that already came in. Like it was nothing. I did it without even trying. This year, oh my gosh,
much different.
Turned down here, there, and everywhere. We had the global sponsors for whom we are quite grateful. I big shout out. You can look up who they are on the WordCamp Montclair website. Other than that, we had exactly one sponsor, that was Penske Media Corp. Shout out to them. And they stood up because one of their people was a lead organizer and 2 of their people were speakers. So they came to the table and stood up with a bronze. So here's the thing, bronze sponsorship, $850. There were some small little tiny WordPress shops. I'm really grateful for them for their micro sponsorship dollars. Very grateful for those dollars. And we nickel and dimed. We had some local sponsors, local businesses could come in at $75 a ticket. We paid for WordCamp Montclair largely on the backs of small businesses. I want to be clear about this. Hosting companies, you're not stepping up. Big plugin shops, you're not stepping up. You know, I didn't need a $2,000 sponsorship, but man, you guys couldn't spring for $850. And that's going to be very, very rough on local camps around the globe. If the people who are making money on WordPress can't support the next generation of WordPress, and I'm not asking for a 5K commitment, I'm asking for hosting companies who are making millions of dollars a year. Can you step up for 800? It feels like it shouldn't be a heavy ask.
Yeah. And then there's politics behind it, like a lot of these companies. And that was, I feel like the good thing is that Phoenix got in soon enough to not get as affected as you guys did, but they're not wanting to because of all the layoffs and pay cuts.
Right.
And so they feel like, how can we sponsor when we just laid everybody off? That just looks bad. So, but I agree with you, Laura. It's like, no, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. But like, you know, like we still need the community support. And that, I mean, that's how WordCamps work.
Yeah.
And we all know that the ROI, I mean, it's part of like, you're giving back to the community. It goes back into the Fight for the Future. So
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
We got caught.
I mean, the irony
politics.
is that we had one hosting company, GoDaddy cleaned up. GoDaddy, and that was the hilarity of it. Is that the other thing is too, there are so many people coming to WordCamps now who were never in the community, never experienced WordCamp before. I would say 75% of my people were new. GoDaddy made out like bandits.
Well, I think what's funny is like, and if you think about this, even from like not picking any hosts, these hosts won't exist without WordPress. Like the number 2, 3, and 4 CMSs are proprietary closed systems that are on Google Cloud and AWS. So it's actually hilarious. Like, and it makes me wonder, do these, you know, hosting companies, have they done, you know, documentation or looked at like, not, I guess, numbers of like, what is the, and I think if they're looking at the ROI of WordCamp as the ROI of, are we getting signups? That's a really silly metric. It should be, oh, are we getting more and more people to sign up to use WordPress? When we survey people that sign up for hosting, do we ask them, have you attended a WordCamp? You know, and I know it's not like they might go, oh, well, that doesn't align with our business. I'm like, what else are you aligning with? Because there's no other CMS that you're using. Like when people go into cPanel, I don't know what else they're putting in there, but they're usually putting in WordPress. And so it's funny to me how short-sighted this is, because even beyond like sponsorship for WordCamps, we don't have hosts really pushing and like being involved, maybe, you know, WP Engine aside, in Gutenberg or FSE or any of that. And so, you know, that it's just silly. Like it's so short-sighted. And, you know, I heard a lot of sponsors, even outside of the WordPress community. You know, I have a friend in the cannabis industry, and she was telling me just everything got consolidated. So it's these consolidated groups. They're having the same thing in that industry. And then the big consolidated groups are kind of like, well, we did this festival like the last 5 years. Do we need to do this festival this year? And then the other thing is, if a project is not like a slam dunk, like, so she was working on, Snoop Dogg has like a cannabis snack brand, right? And that cannabis snack brand, because they can't sell it I guess they thought, you know, it would turn around during the pandemic, because they thought they could start selling it in Kroger's in 4 years, and it didn't happen. And the company was profitable, the division was profitable, but they're like, hey, if it's not millions and millions and millions, we're not doing it anymore. And so I feel like a lot of companies are just being really short-sighted, and it's not good.
If Snoop cannabis candy is not a slam dunk, then I don't even want to be here.
WordCamps.
How's that not a slam dunk? Snoop.
One of the things we do have to think about too is that an $850 sponsorship is more than $850 for a company. So, because you have to have your materials, you have to like, so you're ordering swag, whatever it is, however expensive it is, you're flying people in, you're putting them up in a hotel for at least 2 nights. So an $850 commitment is more like a $2,000 or $3,000 commitment. And you have to think about how many WordCamps can a company sustain doing that. And yes, hosting companies make a lot of money, but hosting companies also spend a lot of money on people like me who work for a hosting company, right? So like I have a salary, those kinds of benefits and things. So, and I'm not saying that they're not, you know, making money, because obviously they are, but there's a lot that goes into marketing that way too. Not defending, but also saying there's a lot more at stake than just writing a check for $850. Sure. And I'm on both sides of that, right? So, because I'm constantly asking my own company, like, hey, do you want to sponsor this WordCamp I'm organizing? And they're like, we don't have the budget for everything you want to do, Michelle. But we'll take a look at all.
I mean,
of them
I'm going to be honest, like, and I'm going to just like, GoDaddy had $4.091 billion in revenue, which is a 5.2% increase over the year before in 2022, right? Let's be honest. It's these companies are just like, it's stock buybacks. It's like, I'm not singing a song. They're laying off people to like line their pockets, because in reality, if let's do some simple math, right? $3,000 times 100 WordCamps. $300,000. That's 1/50th of a Super Bowl commercial. It's not a lot of money. And it's just silly to me that like, cut the Super Bowl commercial, maybe use like a G-list celebrity instead of an F-list celebrity to do the backflip into the Dorito bowl, and and take $300,000 and put the money where it like, and it's just funny because like it's existential. These hosting companies will have nothing to sell if WordPress is not the market leader. And so it's silly to me. There's no excuse.
I think it comes down to your sentiment, Michelle. And I'm the same way. Like I work for Elegant Themes and I have no problem. I'm a very transparent person. I pay for myself. Everywhere I go, I pay for myself. I don't get sponsored by my own company. And I don't think it should be the case, but it is the case. And I'm very pro, back to what also you're talking about, Victor, of like showing sponsors how you can, I call it sponsor light. And I very much educate how you don't have to pull the GoDaddy route when it comes to like what they spent on going to WordCamp Europe. Like there's ways to do it and go around it. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, and I'm going to get all Raquel on us, do you believe in the project? It really comes down to, do you believe in the project? And the problem is, one of my beloved friends, they work for one of our, for Bluehost. Bluehost was bought by, Newfold, and we're just saying stuff on the show, but it's this corporate company that comes in and doesn't even know the project, let alone believes in the project. So we, as like these single individuals, have to like help bring that like passion to show what this project means to us. I mean, I think all of us here believe in this project. I pay for myself to go to these events that I don't even get sponsored.
I sponsored myself to WordCamp Europe. I was there sponsored.
Yeah,
by
exactly.
Myself. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like, we got to trickle it up, and it's a tall order, an absolutely tall order, but I'm down with it. If it can somehow like show the world like how much this project is amazing. Mm-hmm. It really comes down to whether or not we believe in it, or if we don't. And at the end of the day, what's not happening is people don't believe in the project. And well, the big umbrella companies don't know it. So let's get them to know it and then believe in it.
Yeah, I think one takeaway from this conversation, which is a great conversation, by the way, is, you have 5 very seasoned organizers of WordCamps here. We've all seen a lot, we've done a lot in various camps at various parts of the country. Or parts of the world. I think the underlying theme here is that the game's changed, right? Things have changed, especially from last year to this year. Like, of course, from pandemic, but certainly from just in the past, year, things have changed. So, when things change, so do we, right? So, I feel like while, we absolutely need sponsors for WordCamps to work, the idea of having smaller WordCamps and getting to Victor's point, Laura's point, of trying to figure out how to be more optimize that budget, how to work with rec centers, how to work with spaces to keep that cost down, part of that, but also part of, educating future volunteer organizers and volunteers that, hey, this is not going to be as easy as you might think, or as easy as it was in the past. Don't expect 10 sponsors to walk in and hand you a check for $10,000, right? Think about that. If you're unable to get the big checks, how can I get a bunch of small checks, right? Maybe those micro sponsorships are the answer, or just really a lot more SMB opportunities for $250 a pop, right? So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just like, we'll put it out there to help educate people that are watching and hearing this, to say, hey, it's not the same as it was. There hasn't been as many WordCamps, but the ones that have happened have all confirmed that, or are confirming that, right? So plan ahead knowing it's not the same. You can't plan a WordCamp the same way you did in 2019 today.
One of the other things I think is that sponsors need to understand better how to cash in on their ROI. How can you make the most of your sponsorship instead of expecting a WordCamp full of volunteers to shout your name enough for you to have an ROI on that? I have a book, one of the chapters of my book is, why do you sponsor things? Why do you pay for money to sponsor things? And how do you make the most of the money that you invest in that? And part of that is, I see some companies doing it really well. They write an article beforehand about how excited they are to go there. They write an article afterwards about what happened when they were there, the people they met. And while they're there, they are tweeting and posting on LinkedIn and posting wherever, they're sharing on social media, live photos of where they are. They're putting together retrospectives. They're shouting out other people. They're tweeting about what they're sitting in, the sessions that they're sitting in, the people that they're there, even if they're posting pictures of their food, right? Like they're making sure that people are seeing what they're doing. And I don't think enough companies, they're invested in the swag, they're invested in the table, they're investing in getting people there, but they're not actually taking that next step to do the marketing for themselves on what they've invested in.
It's funny you say that, because does anyone remember the group that had like the matching blue jackets? Like there was like at WordCamp Europe, there was this group, they all had matching Letterman jackets. They kept taking them off because it was probably so hot, right? But like, the ones in college, like where you look like, so they all had blue ones and they had matching
Total
Converse. Bro. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But in reality, like they weren't taking photos with it. They weren't doing a giveaway with it. They weren't like, it was like, I was like, are you guys giving these away? They're like, no, they're for us. And I was like, okay. And it was like, that's cool. But like, this is like such a missed opportunity. And what was so funny was people are so, and don't get me wrong, someone actually mocked it. Like someone from WP Engine, no shade to you, you can have your opinion, but like the guy was like, the two things I learned at WordCamp Europe were, one, people will do anything for a free t-shirt, and two, we need to get more agency, blah, 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 something going. But it was like, no, dude, it's that people, like, they love swag because they want to remember things. And the most in-demand booth was Pagely, who their budgets got cut. They used to be like rock stars. They had one silkscreen machine and they only had 100 shirts to give away, but everyone wanted them, right? And I think people want a unique experience. And so like these guys, like they had these 6 jackets, they had the 6 pairs. Come on, you could have literally done a raffle and that would have been the most popular table, because that would have been, they would have like, been like 10 levels above Pagely. Because like, oh, you get a silk screen t-shirt. Well, guess what? Here's like a Letterman jacket in 6 different, because some of the guys are bigger. So it was like, there was one woman with them. She was like 5'2". So they had all the sizes, right? And like, and then, yeah, no one does that. And then I took a photo with them and did a hashtag and they only retweeted it once. And it was like, guys, like you literally best dress at WordCamp EU, like have fun with it. And you're right that maybe they just need training, because these are a lot of new companies, right? And maybe that's something we need to do too.
I guess my next
a letter jacket, I think
so. My next project is WPHowToSponsor.com.
Yeah. And well, and that's also, if you want to, I can give you my emails from WP NYC. I started writing templated response emails for when people ask us, can we sponsor? Can we speak? Whatever. We're like, hey, if you want to speak, good faith rules, like, please no advertising, and then like the second one was like, if you want to sponsor, it's, because of the payment thing, please, you can't give us cash. We'd prefer if you bought us like a Zoom connection monthly, or please, and you may want to do food, but we've sometimes had food go bad. So we don't want you, maybe if you guys want a gift card, and like, maybe that's something with what Brad said. Local WP is like, we can't give you money, but we can send you like 2 months free hosting postcards with these cool little robot pins. And those were awesome. Every meetup we had, I'd show up with like this garbage bag. They sent me 500 postcards, and I would be carrying them on the subway, and I'd be like, dump them out and be like, please take these. And people would take 2. Everyone had these cool little local WP robots on their bag. And I don't know the ROI of that, but that's something where we could say like, hey, this was something they did. It was probably $100 in badges. And now everyone in New York that went to WP NYC is using local WP and has little robot pins.
Yep.
The robot pin shut us down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different world, right? But it's at the very, at the end of the day, WordCamps are great. It's great to see them coming back.
Absolutely.
We got WordCamp US coming up. It's actually, I think, less than 2 months now.
Yeah.
I already booked my hotel,
like 7
and I booked
weeks
my Amtrak. Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to be
driving down.
So everybody here is going to WordCamp
going.
US, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's
Awesome.
back on the East Coast. It's drivable, which is nice. I've been to every single one. I went to San Diego last year, which was, definitely weird because it's my first flight since all of this started. So that alone was weird traveling, but it was great to see everybody, even though it was, a little bit trimmed down. Just nice to see a lot of friends. And again, those big regional ones, those national ones, country, whatever, those are awesome, and they certainly have their place, and it's an important place. But I really like these. I feel like getting back to the local, smaller, micro, even the the pitch of having unique, different type of WordCamps now, I think that opens the door to some more interesting ideas around that, right? Of not just doing what we're always doing, but really kind of flipping it upside down and rethinking it. Because this is in a very different world now, in very different times. So, and to the point of, we need to get more younger people interested in WordPress, and to keep, carrying the torch. So
absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of good tips, a lot of good ideas there. But yeah, I hope future organizers listen to this and take heed on some of the ideas, especially on sponsorships. Like, just money is always the probably the toughest part of anything, right? But like,
Always.
trying to get money these days is a lot harder than it used to be.
Yeah.
Well, money aside,
It
the
doesn't have
one
to be
thing,
the gold
oh, sorry.
sponsorship. Everybody's got a micro sponsorship, which is like somewhere between $300 to $800. Like, just like we said, the little bit helps.
Yep.
Yeah. I think
100%.
another thing too, they were talking, I don't know where I heard this, but was it Matt in either State of the Word or somewhere spoke about the importance of bringing back meetups or rebooting them. And I know when I've interacted with the community team, they've been talking about the struggle. Like, a lot of meetups are getting abandoned, like they don't have a lead on them. And I'll say, even from WPNYC, I've not hosted anything for WPNYC in a minute. And I actually realized I got to start scheduling things. But we were doing it at Microsoft in person. We used to get like 50 to 150 people. Now I see Steve, he's still hosting the in-person. He gets 15 to 20 and everyone else wants to dial in. And I think, like Brad said, I think the world has changed too much. And if anyone's not aware, in New York City, everyone goes, there's actually this great infographic of like New York City goes from like 3 million people in Manhattan pre-pandemic to like 10 or 15 million. It would show these like spikes of people in offices. Now, people only really go in hybrid. And I know that everyone's saying, oh, you have to be in 3 days. Everyone's in like 1 or 2 days. We're supposed to be in 1 day. We're in no days. Like, just people aren't, because getting in's terrible. I-95, the bridge collapsed. You got a poison cloud. I don't know. People don't want to commute, right? But then what happens is people are working at home, and they usually live in Brooklyn, Jersey, Long Island. And now they're like, wait, I have to go into the city at 7 p.m. for a meetup. And then here's the other thing. Public transportation is always the worst after work hours. Like, they start construction at 9 p.m. And so maybe that makes me think like Word Meetup NYC needs to be like a daytime thing or a weekend thing, or like a quarterly, monthly. And that's where I think maybe we also need to start thinking of making meetups different, because the old model of, hey, everyone must show up after work, that is very hard to do. I can't imagine. New York City is unique, but I can't imagine it's the only place struggling with that.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Victor. Yeah.
So I will say that we in Phoenix, I think just our team is just so passionate about the project. We never stopped. So yes, we went virtual, but we never stopped ever. And the entire time, we always had a road to in-person in place. It adjusted all the time, as we all know, but we just did. So like in 2 years ago, our Woo meetup went in person. And it would just, we're having consistent with it. And then a year ago, our general WordPress and our advanced developer went in person. And then our Divi meetup went in person. And they are typically out, they are afterward, except for our Divi meetup meets during the day. And it actually does work out well. But I think because we never stopped, and of course, Phoenix is different than New York, but we've just been always consistent. And I think because we have a team of at least 10 who are so dedicated, passion is contagious, right? So like we are, and we're showing up and we're excited about product and the topics. And so then it helps. And then our WordPress 20th anniversary party had 65 people. And I was like shocked. I'm like, what? Like, I just think like when you pour and pour and pour into something, it takes work. It takes growth. You got to like show up. You got to like be consistent with it. You got to like host it when like one person shows up and 2 people show up. But then it's like, there's always people in the background that are home, and they're like, I don't feel like going. And then they see and they get FOMO that they didn't go. And then they see the pictures and they see what happened. And then all of a sudden, and of course it's not just add water and it happens, but are the fruits of our labor since the pandemic hit. Like, I feel like when we saw 60 people show up to the party, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I think our community is responding. So it is possible. It wasn't hard at all. And we cried and bled and sweated, but it was an icing.
We stayed virtual, and we committed, like we did. I mean, we had people coming from literally all over the world to our virtual meetups every month. The hardest thing for us was over the pandemic, the space that we had closed down. So our biggest obstacle to going live was finding an accessible space at a reasonable price in our area. Lot of stuff going on there. And we finally found a home in the Montclair Library, but there came with restrictions with that. We had to go to a different time. You can't bring food in. There's, there's definitely a lot of, I mean, yay, we don't have to pay. Huzzah, that's amazing, right? But it was trying to find that new space. That was definitely a challenge.
What's really interesting too is we talk about the bigger versus the smaller, right? It's like I'm mentoring WordCamp Atlanta right now, and they, target 500 people, and their budget is like $50,000 plus or whatever, because the space costs money and the food costs money, all that. I'm putting together WordCamp Rochester right now, and we're in the process of signing our venue and working our budget. I'm trying to raise $3,500. I mean, there's a big difference between those two, right?
Wow.
So it's crazy when I think of like what Raquel, what you needed to raise for Phoenix versus what I need to raise for Rochester. It's like, can't just one company just write a check for that? I mean, come on.
I mean, they could, although we don't let them.
I think the first WordCamp Philly I did was probably around 12,000 all in, which I'm sure would be way more now. This was a decade ago, but just kind of put in perspective, even then that was a budget amount for a city like Philly, to try to get a venue. But
one of the things that we could look at is I know that Victor, you said like community centers. That's great. That's what we did for WordCamp Buffalo this year. WordCamp Rochester, where our venue is a public school, and public schools and private schools are another great place to look if you're not trying to get thousands of people and it's manageable. So, our venue is going to cost us around $1,500 for WordCamp Rochester this year, assuming everything goes according to plan. Nothing's on the books yet until everything's signed. But, but it's just different. It's different every city. It's different every group, and it's different every location.
I think, well, back to like you guys were saying about, losing venues or like, venues changing and the rules changing. People don't realize in New York City how much like everything was kind of subsidized by Starbucks and hotels. Like it was very easy to say like, hey, meet at this Starbucks, meet at this hotel lobby. And, I remember going to like very pricey, like, the W, or like people all met at like Ace Hotel and the lobby, you'd meet there. And now New York, there's certain restaurants, there's bars now that are doing reservations, like meaning to sit at the bar and drink a cocktail. Wow. You need a reservation because they just rents again, like, and again, the rents aren't up for any real reason. They're up because of greed. Like, Del Frisco's, their rent went from $100,000 a month to $200,000 a month. How do you make that money back? You can only sell so many steaks, right? So yeah, they're all doing. So that's what I think. Like, and then Starbucks, of course, they closed certain locations. They benefited. They were like, hey, like we're still getting people picking up the same orders. Let's get rid of the seating, right? And then that meant like our most popular meetup outside of the regular recurring meetup were our Brooklyn help desk and our Manhattan help desk. And I was sponsored by Breather, which was like a liquid space type deal where like they would give us, like I could go on the app and book credits and get like a WeWork type place. And then they closed. And then, all the Brooklyn was all Starbucks. And so I think that's a whole other thing. Like people need to figure out and I wouldn't even know right now in New York. I know there could be a cafe we could go to, but would that cafe even welcome us? Because like, some places now are like, hey, like we need this for customers. Like, I don't know what the rules are. And so, yeah, you're like Michelle was saying, it's different everywhere.
Yep.
Times have changed. That's for sure. I think the great thing about the community though, is we're all want to help, right? That's why we love the community. Like we're figuring things out together. We're working through challenges. There's mentorship programs. There's a lot of organizers out there, some still active, some retired like myself, but we might have some good ideas still. So, and the good thing is if you don't know, you just ask. Like it's a great community. Say, hey, like we want to do something, but we're not sure how to do it safely or how to do it on a budget, or we've never done it before. I don't know if I can do it. There could be some imposter syndrome. And that's why the community really stands out, because there are a lot of people out there that want to help and they want to have events, and there's an entire event community team. So a lot of places get help and support in this new world that we're in, especially as we're trying to figure this out. Because again, I mean, how many WordCamps have been in the US since all this happened? Like 10? 15, like not many. So, so we're still figuring that out. We don't have all the answers. And that's why we work together as a community and as a group to help each other out where we can. Right. So, so there's a lot of ways to do it. You just got to ask questions and look for the support.
Yeah. Yeah. The one of the big things that's coming back that I think is helping a lot of people, because there are so many new folks to WordPress. I mean, WordPress is still continue to grow. That's what's amazing through all of this, right? The CMS is considering to have a huge market share. Help desk has been incredible. Like people, and one of the biggest things that has helped too is that notification in the dashboard. That people come on in and then they're like, oh my gosh, like that's like, they think a lot of people's first shot at community is they have a problem, somebody helped them, they helped them for free and now they want to give back. Like that's been the biggest thing that I would say we've gained probably about 4 or 5 people just from having done help desk over the last year. Like that's the biggest thing we've been doing to try to build community back up.
Well, we're coming up time here. I want to be respectful. We got a big extended holiday weekend here in the US. I'm always love when there's a big holiday on a Tuesday. It's so fun to schedule everything.
It's going to be so weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a good one. So real quick, we'll go around the horn, let everyone know where they can follow you online. I mean, again, everyone here is very open. If you're looking for ideas or suggestions, we're all part of the community. We're all on Slack and WordPress. I'm sure, if you had a question and you reach out, anyone on this panel would be happy to help. So let's go around real quick. Just tell people how they might be able to reach out if they would like to say hi. Laura, you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm pretty much everywhere as New Yorker Laura. Google it. It's easy to remember. You can find me.
Wait, where do you live again?
All the things in North New Jersey. Right. This voice though, right. This voice. Yeah. But like pretty much everywhere New Yorker Laura. I could do full New York if I had to again, but it
comes out sometimes on phone calls. Trust me, I've seen it firsthand.
So funny.
Let me pass over to Michelle.
All my links are at meetmichelle.online. So you can find me all the places there.
Nice. Raquel.
I am, what am I now? Everywhere. I'm trying to be Raquel Karina everywhere, but that's my middle name, but I don't like formally go by my middle name, but pretty much if you just Google WordPress and Raquel Karina, that'll be me. I do post a lot and love IG is probably like my fave if you ever just want to like get to know me personally. And that's why are you laughing?
Because we're now IG friends. I know.
Victor has multiple accounts, including Victor After Dark. So be careful which one you follow.
Yeah. Oh, I have some ideas. But yeah, but I absolutely love to connect. Like at any time if someone's like, hey, let's talk, I will give you the time in the day because humans are my absolute favorite and I just invest. So find me.
That's awesome. Victor, where can people find you at?
Just Google Victor Ramirez WordPress. I come up. Yeah, that's it.
Don't forget the WordPress party. You might get somebody else.
Yeah, right. You get the serial killer, you get like the artist, there's like so many.
You
the John Smith Latinos. Yeah.
When I see you, Victor, when it pops up like Victor likes something, I always think, which Victor Ramirez is this? Because I know a few.
Oh my God. Of course. Yeah. See? Yeah. Arizona. There's 30,000 in New York.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm Brad Williams. I'm at Williams BA on Twitter. Sometimes, I don't know. I think I'm still there. I don't know. Twitter's weird these days, but you can reach out. I'm always accessible. And I'm also on the WordPress Slack and I'm pretty much everywhere Williams BA. But I definitely want to thank everyone for joining. This is a really great discussion. I felt like, it's cool to hear firsthand accounts, especially from those of you that have been doing WordCamps since the post-pandemic. And I think we put out some good, valuable information and tips. And again, I think the long and short of it is things have changed and we're a community and we're going to figure it out together. Right. So
shout out to the chat. The chat was really helping.
Chat was super active too.
Yeah. Shout out to the chat.
This is a lot of fun. So we're back at the last Friday of every month is the WordPress Friday Hangout. If you want to come on, we'll invite people on. We'll have just random chats about WordPress from everyone else. So if you're in the States, have a great 4th of July. Make sure you protect those moneymakers, right? And blow things off, but not your fingers. You need those. So be safe. Have a good weekend. And we'll catch everybody next month.
All right. Later, y'all. Thank you.
I'll end it.
Are we going now?
Yeah. Sorry, there's like a couple stuff.
I'm like, is this? Do we do